Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Impact Farming Show. Today, we have an amazing guest. We have Amanda Nigg, FarmFitMomma. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for
Good.
asking. You
I
had
am so happy to have you on the show. I've been following you for some time. I love your posts, and I know we have a great episode for you guys. So stay tuned. Okay, Amanda, before we dive in, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
that is a long story. Well, basically what we do is we give the ag industry tools and strategies to lose weight, build muscle, improve their mental health while creating a sustainable lifestyle. And that's truly like our mission statement in a nutshell. We really take great pride in helping clients not only go outside their comfort zones in the name of growth, but also physically, mentally, to help them really be able to show up powerfully for what they do. I mean, our industry is truly the backbone of the entire world. And so, how it got started, I mean, I don't know if we want to go over that quite yet, but I personally, I got started is just because of my own battle with my own mental health. And that's kind of how the ideal farm fit training came about. And of course, in that, there's a couple situations that I went through personally. And then coming through that, it was just like, okay, yep, this is the direction and this is the type of business I want to make available for our community.
I love it. Two things. First off, I want to get to know your background. Do you have a fitness background? Did you grow up on a farm? I want to know that kind of stuff. And then we're going to dive into those events that led into the launch of your business. You have a pretty powerful story. So tell me more about who you are, like your background.
So I did not grow up in agriculture, which crazy enough, I love this industry and it's industry that I definitely have grown to love. I've married a fifth generation farmer. I didn't date anybody in agriculture either. So I grew up in Western Nebraska, and the community that I grew up in was so much a railroad and agriculture community. So I was around agriculture. Like I was very familiar with it. I mean, my sister dated a couple guys that were farmers and stuff like that. But as far as my family personally, we didn't do agriculture. We didn't grow up in it. Like we were more the railroad side of family. Like my dad's been on the railroad for since he was like 18 years old. So I'm very familiar with Burlington, Northern Santa Fe, for example. Um, and I mean, I loved it. My childhood was in a rural Nebraska, a small town to me, which was now I live in even a smaller town. So Alliance was like about, 9,000, 10,000 people, which we considered really small. But now I'm in a 25,000 or 2,500 person town. And it's like, okay, no, this is small where I live now.
Oh, right on. We have a similar background too. I come from farming families, like both my grandparents, but it skipped a generation. And I grew up rural and then I met my husband. So I never talk about that on the show, but we have a similar background. So that's neat. Okay. Now, if I remember your story correct, there was two big events that happened in your life that kind of paved the path to you starting Farm Fit Mama. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I always get kind of emotional, so I'm hoping I don't cry.
Yeah, if you're okay
It's
talking
still
about it.
really raw. So in 2020, backing up to that, I graduated college as a radiation oncology therapist, the medical field. So I've always been in a position where I love helping people.
Mm.
Like I'm that type of person, that personality where I'm a fixer. And the reason why I was so drawn to the medical field is because the fact that I could make a difference. I could help someone go through cancer. So my degree was in radiation oncology, and it was specialized strictly to the oncology field. So when I graduated college, I moved out to South Dakota to work in the oncology department, which they put me in pediatrics. And I'll be the first to tell you, I was, fresh out of college, not ready for that field. Like pediatrics, you're treating the whole family, not just the child. And so, being so young at age, not any kids myself, it was really hard to go into that industry. So I ended up working insurance. I sold supplemental insurance and I loved it. It was really unique where I was in rural South Dakota. and I was selling like cancer, heart, and accidental. So even then, I felt like I was helping individuals because instead of them focusing on the illnesses, they were, or not the illnesses. I said that backwards. Instead of focusing on the expenses that attach to, like, for example, a heart attack or a cancer, we would have our insurance would come in and give them money in the time they need it the most, so they could really go get that quality care they were looking for. And I mean, I had some huge claims in that, and I really loved it, and enjoyed it. So prior to COVID, I want to mention this is like I met my husband on a blind date, and I started as soon as I met my husband, I was like love at first sight. I hitched my wagon to his. Like he had no choice. I was there for the long run. He was just like, "Who is this girl from Nebraska and she doesn't leave? Why is she here?" No, I'm kidding. He loved it. So we got married, and I ended up kind of taking a step back from my insurance, to fill that farm wife role, that we all go into. And I'll be the first to tell you, like someone that didn't grow up in agriculture, it was a lot. Like accounting, I didn't grow up around big equipment. And so I'm really proud in saying this. I'm the first woman in 5 generations to drive a tractor on Nick's farm. Like, how freaking cool is that, that I didn't grow up in agriculture and I was out there in the field instantly. So I think that was my husband. He always makes the joke. He's like, "That's when I knew I was going to marry her." I was like,
Aw.
"Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'll let that slide." But it was one of those things where I quickly realized, that was not my thing. Like, the whole bookkeeping thing is not my cup of tea. I love the fact that I was able to stay home when our kids were super young, but I felt like I lost myself in that process. Like, I'm a go-getter personality, and for me, it just like, yes, it's a very important role, and I take great pride. I saw my kids' first steps, I was there, through their first pivoting transformation parts of their life. But one of the things that I talked to my husband about in 2019 is I was like, "Hey, I need to go back full time to insurance. Like, I need to have my own thing, where I feel like I can thrive and really excel in." And he understood that. And he's always been super supportive of me. And so prior to COVID, I actually went back full time, and I was working with a bunch of agricultural industries where I was going to come in and offer my insurance. And I'll never forget this day. Like March 19th, the day before the national pandemic. My husband, I was like, "I'm going to take our youngest to daycare," because we did move our youngest into daycare so I could go back to full time. And our oldest was in school. So it worked out perfectly at that transition. And I was running through the house getting him all ready, and we couldn't find his backpack. Well, I was like, "Oh, I'll take it to you after I work out. I'll bring it to the daycare later." And that morning, I get these 8 phone calls from my husband. And I remember, like, if anybody's ever met my husband, he's the ultimate jokester. Like, he will, like, I didn't grow up in agriculture, so he'll play jokes on me all the time, like, all the time, testing me.
Yeah.
And so when I got on the phone with him finally, as I'm leaving daycare, I remember the exact words coming out of his mouth, that the house is on fire and John and I climbed out the master bedroom window. And I was thinking in the head of like, is this a joke? Like, this is a horrible joke. Like, why would he call me 8 times to tell me this joke? And I was like, okay. And then he repeated it. And when he repeated it, it just sunk in. It was like, no, wait, he's being serious in this moment. And I remember driving that 10 miles back to the house, where the fire department called us because we lived at the time a half a mile from the farm. And so I remember the fire department calling me, and they're like, "Hey, is it at the farm or at your house that you guys just built?" Because we just built our forever home 4 years prior. Like, this was a brand new home that we like, my husband was a contractor for it. Like, we spent a ton of time building this home. And I was like, "No, it's at the house. It's at the house. My husband just called me." And I remember pulling down the driveway, and I see this smoke coming out of the fire. And again, my fix it attitude, I was like, "I'm gonna run in and get the fire extinguisher," because I knew where it was at in the house. And I remember running up, I parked the car, and I remember running up to the house, and I hit this like post, and it knocked me flat on my back. And I remember getting up and being like, "Okay, I shouldn't be going in this way." Come to find out, if I would have went in that way, I wouldn't be here today. I actually haven't shared this story online. Yeah, like how, like, it gives me goosebumps. Like, the fire department said if I would have opened the front door, that fire would have came back at me and just burned me completely. And so I actually never shared that, and so after I hit that post, I ran around back, and as soon as I got to the back of the house, I instantly saw the fire, and I was like, "There's no way. If I go in that house, I'm not coming back out." Like, it just stop and just wait for the fire department. And so we waited for the fire department. This is rural America. We're in the middle of no man's land. Like these individuals that are on these fire departments are volunteer. So like at that time, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. They were already at work. So the fact that they were able to get to our house in 38 minutes is mind blowing if you really think about it. And I remember for me, it felt like eternity. It was like, oh my gosh, why are they taking so long to get here? Like they should be here faster. But if you sit back and really look at it, it's like, okay, wait, they were at work. They had to leave work, get to the fire station, get suited up, fill the trucks, and get out to our house. And, just from that day, we lost everything. It ended up being like 5 local fire departments from neighbor small towns trying to put out this house fire. And what happened was it was March, super, like we had a ton of snow on the ground. It was super foggy that day. And this wind just came out of the west and pushed the fire through the whole house. So we lost everything in 2.5 hours. And like literally, like my heart just sunk because we had everything in the house. Like, our kids' first steps were in the house. My husband's dad passed away, 5 years or 6 years prior to that. Like a lot of his memorabilia were in the house that we can never get back. And so there was a lot of things in our home, like, yeah, it's materialistic things, but there's things that we would never get back. And a lot of people don't think about that until you go through that situation. Like, yes, our clothes were in there and we can easily buy new clothes and stuff. But now the next day was a lockdown. So you have to remember the world went into a lockdown. You couldn't go buy groceries. You weren't supposed to see people. We were supposed to be social distancing. And so that next day, it was just like that hit on top of us just losing our home 24 hours prior, where it's like, okay, we don't even have groceries, we don't have clothes. And it was really cool as our small town, like people would drop stuff off. They were social distancing. They would come up to the driveway, call us, and be like, "Hey, I'm dropping off a bunch of clothes. Like, I want to help you guys out, but technically, I can't see you," and drop it off. And what really opened my eyes is I ended up taking my fitness journey online, because I always grew. You asked me earlier, and I didn't answer this question. I always grew up very active. Like I was I did sports. I did softball, soccer, cheerleading. Like I was always super involved in sports growing up. And so my escape time was that workouts. Like I've always been super workout, like I've always loved that time for myself. And my husband knew that. And so my gym was in our house. And so when our house burnt down and we were trying to makeshift the shop into a home for the time being, while we were dealing with insurance companies, while we were trying to figure out our next steps, one of the things he did was he would go out to our junk pile, because every farm has a junk pile. And he would go out to the junk pile and bring these like old beat up tires up to the shop, and he'd bring me like these random pieces of equipment parts that he doesn't use for weights, because in 2020, like any gym equipment was like liquid gold. Like you just couldn't get it. And so I remember that's at that point I changed my handle from Amanda Nigg to FarmFitMomma, and I started posting my mental health struggles online, because like we're all going through COVID together. We're all going through this pandemic and we're all struggling. Like, people's worlds were changed upside down. Like all of a sudden you can't talk to people. And in agriculture too, it didn't really change a lot in agriculture because we're an industry where we're kind of solo. If you think about it, we spend a lot of times alone in the tractor or alone on the farm doing certain things. So for agriculture, it didn't change too much, but for me, like I couldn't sell insurance. I'm homeschooling our kids. I'm in addition to that, all of a sudden I'm having to figure out insurance and figure out our next step. Like our insurance company couldn't even put us in a house that was equivalent to where we built. And so they're like, yeah, we can get you in a house that's an hour away from the farm. And so it's like, okay, we have to move an hour away and try to figure out how to like function as a family. I mean, it took us 45 minutes just to get our kids to school. Like it was just a disaster. And so one of the things, like I said, I did is I took my whole experience online, and like I was very open. I was super raw. I was like crying on social media. I was posting some of my workouts. And what I didn't expect is a lot of people started messaging me, asking me, they're like, what are you doing? Like, whose workout program are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm doing my own. And they're like, well, can you start posting it? I'm like, sure. And so then by March or May of 2020, I decided to put together this planking challenge. You know, we all know the benefits of planking. Like it's a full body killer. Like you're using your core, you're using your back, your arm muscles, your leg muscles, your booty. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put something together. Again, I'm not certified at this time. I'm like, I'm just going to put this together, throw it out there on the internet, and see if anybody in agriculture wants to do this 30-day planking challenge with me. What I didn't expect, like, Tracy, is it exploded. It
Wow.
exploded. Like, and it didn't just go across the United States, it was in Canada, Australia, UK, like, these people like, there was 800 plus farmers tagging me every single day, planking on tractors, planking out in the middle of the field, on bridges, like, I had a guy plank on a bison. I'm
Oh,
like, "I
wow.
don't think I would have done that." But, you know, it just shows, like, there was this massive need for somebody to step into that space, like, we all are looking for ways to deal with our stress. We're all looking for ways to improve our own mental health, our physical health, and something like that plank challenge really opened my eyes to that. And later that year, I did a couple of more challenges that went super big as well. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to go get certified. I'm going to learn how to run a business online. And I'm going to launch a program that is tailored towards our industry, where it's going to be a space where you can work on your physical and mental health. And I can't tell you, like, when I opened the doors February 5th, so I just celebrated ending my 3 years of launching Farm Fit training. February 5th of 2021, I opened the doors and I was like, is anybody going to trust me? Like, is anybody going to apply? And at that time, I was certified. So just so everybody knows, I am certified. I opened the doors and I had 60 applications in less than 24 hours for 25 spots.
Good
And
going.
it was just like, since then, I was like, this was the right direction to go. Like, this just, it just proved that our community needed something like this and it needed someone to start it.
Wow. I'm kind of speechless.
I know. I actually never shared that online, about the me hitting the post.
I want
Um,
to say something about that. Sorry. You've never shared that online?
no, I have never shared that online, actually. I've been on a lot of podcasts and I've been on stages and I've never shared that nugget. Like, if I would have opened the front door, I wouldn't be here today.
I
Like
want
that.
to, oh, sorry to interrupt you. I
No, yeah, that post, like, literally saved my life.
I was just gonna say, and I didn't want to make either of us cry, but I was gonna say, you know what? Not to get all spiritual, but somebody was looking after you with that post, right?
Well,
That's
hands down, like, I mean, I always talk about God. I think God leads us in the direction, and I actually didn't share this nugget. So 3 days after our house burnt down, I actually was super depressed. I'll be to tell you, I didn't wanna get out of bed. I didn't wanna eat. Like, I didn't wanna function at all, and I actually prayed, that night. 3 days later after the fire, I prayed to God and I was like, "I need a sign. Like, I need some kind of hope that I can get through this." And he actually answered me and said, "Go back to the house and look for your wedding ring." Because again, that morning I was going to work out and I didn't have my wedding ring on. And I remember turning to my husband the next morning and telling him, "Hey, I'm going to go back to the house and look for my wedding ring." And without even a hesitation, he's like, "I'm going to call some ladies to meet you there to help you." And I remember walking up the stairs because at the time we were staying at his aunt's house. And I remember walking up the stairs and his aunt and uncle, I love them to death. Like, I don't want people to think negative of them, but I remember telling them that. And his uncle was like, "You're not going to find it. Like, don't get your hopes up." And well, this is going to crush my heart. I am going to cry. My oldest turns to me and goes, "Mom, we're going to find it. Like, let's go. I'll go with you." And I was like, "Oh my God. Like,
yeah,
we're going back."
yeah,
So I remember getting over to the house and the ladies beat me there first and foremost. They were there before I even, 20 minutes. It took me 20 minutes to get to the house. They were already there. And we had metal detectors, we had a bunch of shifter things to look through. So we walked around the house. And it was a super calm morning. like super calm. The smoke was down, there was nothing going on. And we climbed through the back basement window. And I was like, well, I knew where my wedding ring was in the house. I knew it was in the master closet because I always set it in the same spot. So if it would have dropped, this is where it would be. And I remember we started shifting through the rubble and instantly we started finding some jewelry, like right off the bat. And I was like, okay, we couldn't use the metal detectors because those were going off like crazy. So we just kept shifting through the rubble. 45 minutes after we started looking for it, his cousin pops up behind me and goes, I found it. And I was like, there's no freaking way. I turn around and like I couldn't even reply to her. I just instantly dropped to my knees because like that's the actually only thing I have. I should bring it out and take a picture of it because after that moment, after we found my actual wedding set, the house started on fire again. Like it's like someone lit the bonfire all over again and we had to climb out as fast as possible. And you couldn't even be near the house because it's like super smoky. But in that 45 minutes before, as long as it took to find that wedding ring, we like literally did the mission impossible. Like, how crazy is that? Like, and I remember just turning my husband, I'm like, we just did mission impossible. And he's like, there's your sign. He's like, that's what you prayed for and you found it. And I was like, it's exactly what I needed. Like, this is really what I needed to get through this. And it's the only thing I have kept, was able to keep from the fire. Like, there's nothing else from our house that we were able to salvage or get from it, and that's the one thing that our insurance company ended up listing it as, what is it? Like a we basically they wanted us to sell it or send it back to them because it was like the diamond, if you took the diamond out of the set, it would have broken a million pieces. If that just tells you how hot that fire got. Because like diamond, is formed under pressure. And if the fact that that diamond was so cracked, like if you would have taken it out of setting, it would just fall apart. And so they ended up letting me keep it. And it's in our safe to this day here at the farm. But just that moment of hope and that me praying to God to give me that sign just shows you that he's alive first and foremost. And secondly, like he answers our prayers, but he doesn't give us all the answers in that moment. He gives us signs to help us get through the most difficult times. And it's all on us to listen.
Mm. Girl, wow. I have goosebumps.
I know. And I cried. I
Uh,
mean,
I
my
think this is
oldest still talks about it to this day. Like he's like, remember that time we found your wedding ring? I'm like, yeah, buddy, I do. I do
how do
remember.
you find beauty and devastation? I mean, those, and it's easy for me to say I didn't go through it and how traumatic, but those two moments, you being saved literally by hitting that post and finding your ring. I think this is my first tears on my own impact farming podcast show.
Oh,
Oh,
I
goodness.
know. It's so
Wow.
crazy, and I can't believe I've never shared that. I guess you're the first person that I've ever shared that the posts because like a lot of times I talk about the post, but I never tell that hey, if I would have actually reached the door and not hit that post, like I wouldn't be here. Like I would not be standing because as soon as I opened that door, that fire would have went back and then went right towards me.
And uh, probably because I'm a big believer in divine moments. So that's amazing. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you. Wow, Amanda, what an amazing story and the resilience of you to overcome that. I'm listening to you. I'm like, wow, what a warrior. And I think because you've lived it, I'm sitting here, I'm traumatized. I'm like, she's getting back to working out and the pandemic the next day. I mean, the pandemic was enough to traumatize and send so many people alone in a spiral. Just that, the fact that you had your house before. I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl is a warrior. So kudos to you. Kudos to
It was
you.
I'm gonna be honest though, it was one of the most humbling and toughest moments of my life. Like it wasn't and I want to really paint this for people that listening or watching this, like it wasn't easy. It was so not easy, but again, that sign from God about my wedding set and just working through that through my physical transformation, like it really helped me be able to move through that. and help me get on the other side. Like there was a lot of times where, I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, like homeschooling my kids was a disaster. Like we don't even need to go there. And like trying to juggle that. Luckily my husband was able to, still farm. He was able to go right into planting season, and when we had a great harvest that year. A lot for him didn't really change, but for me, it was like my life just flipped. And it was like all these responsibilities and all these things that I was dealing with. A lot of people don't understand. I mean, yeah, like you said, we all went through that pandemic, but try adding all that pressure and everything else on top of it. I mean, I had no choice. I really didn't. It was like turn to pills and alcohol or start to work on myself. And that was my two choices. And, finding my wedding ring definitely told me, hey, alcohol and pills are not going to get you where you need to be going. Let's go this route and start working on your physical transformation and dive into that, because that was always been my space. It's always been how I've dealt with stress.
Wow, beautiful. And so many people from just the pandemic alone, which was huge and life changing, turned to pills and liquor. During that time on our show, I did a whole lot of mental health episodes just because more than farm business, more than anything I cover, I felt that I could do the best service to our industry covering mental health because we all needed it. So,
Yeah,
wow.
mental health is a big topic. I mean, everybody's talking about it too. Like everyone, I mean, nowadays you see businesses, talking about it or trying to come up with avenues. Again, that's one of the things that we take great pride in covering it through a physical transformation, is because like when you really get to the root cause, when you really dive into a physical transformation, it stirs up a lot of emotions that you have about yourself. But also when you couple that with nutrition, like nutrition is, I mean, when individuals start to take care of their bodies, I can't tell you how many amazing things happen. Like you start to see, like for example, I'll use my FFT manager, Tracy Johnson. When she joined FarmFit training, she was on antidepressant pills. She was probably at her lowest point in her life. They just moved into a new farmhouse. They moved to the original farmstead in Illinois for her husband's family. And she was just really struggling. And so we really worked on her mental health. And then we really dove into nutrition and her physical strength. Now she's a coach with me. Like, she just was so impact from working on that she's like, "I wanna be a part of this impact. I wanna be a part of this mission." Like, for her, it was like 110% flip. And it wasn't easy. Like, I mean, I was on calls with her all the time. We were working through that. But a lot of times, like, we don't get to that root cause of things. Sometimes we go the Band-Aid approach route and we're like, oh, we're addressing it. But it's like, okay, wait, wait. Let's back up here a second. We need to really dive into like, hey, how are you managing your stress? Agriculture's advancing very so much. Like, I mean, we have tractors that drive themselves now. Like, how freaking cool is that? Like, we don't have it on our farm, but we do have auto steer. Again, with auto steer, the agriculture as a whole is advancing as an industry, and that just shows that we're blooming and we're on top of like growing as an industry. But then the health side of things isn't. Like a lot of things that we've done manually in the past are not, they're getting replaced by newer technology, newer practices, and that's good. But again, it's taking that physical labor out of it. It's taking us working on our strength, working on that physical side of things. And so that's really why I created Farm Fit Training, is to bring that back. It's like, okay, now that we have this amazing technologies in place that are advancing our industry, but we're not really focusing on the mental health. We need to get back to that. Not just mental health, but physical health as well. We need to get back to having something in place for ourselves, to be able to work on that. And a lot of people, we invest so much in our crops, we invest so much in our property. We invest so much in everything that we do, our animal health, our farming operation. But sometimes we forget that we're our longest investment. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, how are we supposed to be able to pass down this legacy that we've built as a family, especially generational farms, to somebody if you're not there to be able to teach them that?
Beautiful. I love it. And that's why I want to have you on the show. And I shared with you before too, I've gone through my own personal fitness, nutrition, and mental strengthening journey. And for me, I know this is the work. I mean, we are our most important asset, right? Our
Yeah.
body and our happiness level and our mental health. And I think it's so important. So when I seen what you were doing, I've been following you for a while. I'm like, this girl knows, this girl, and this is the work. I mean, more than any farm asset, more than any crop, more than any animal, we are the most important asset on our farm. I truly believe that. So that's a call out to you and why I had you on the show. So you touched on what you do. Let's just talk about your business a little bit, like the service. You spoke about the fact that it covers fitness, nutrition, mental health, but talk about what that container looks like. And then I want to talk to you about a little bit more about building your business. So, what services and how do you work with a farmer? Let's say I sign up with you the next time you open this up, Amanda, what does that look like?
So right now we have one-on-one coaching that's actually open up only open at certain points of the year because it's very limited where we only accept a certain number of clients just because we give that really hands-on attention where it's 100% customized. So we customize your nutrition, we customize the workouts, we really customize the experience for each individual clients. So I do have 3 coaches that work with me, and this is a really cool aspect as well. And I shared this on my post talking about my end of my 3-year mark. Is they all have been one-on-one coaching clients that went and got certified and came back as and I ended up hiring as coaches. I actually have 18 women in my program that went and got certified, waiting to become coaches with me, like just because they loved the foundation that we set up for them. It's really a sustainable lifestyle. These are quick and effective workouts. Like, I'm not asking you to work out 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to give you 15 to 25 minutes, but I'll humble you in that time. But then you get to go on your day. Your endorphins are high. You feel there's so many amazing benefits that happen after a workout. And it carries into more productivity. You're sharper, you think clearer. And so then when you couple that with proper nutrition, so we do something called macronutrients, which is a big word. And a lot of people are like, well, what the heck is that? Well, you're focusing on the nutrition value of foods in large amount, mainly protein, carbs, and fats. And so in farm fit training, we really focus on everybody eating a high protein diet because first and foremost, super beneficial. As as humans, we are carnivores. Like, our body craves meat. And so, a high protein diet coupled, carbs and fats have their roles as well. But, on a high protein diet, then you start to add those quick, effective workouts. And then we really tap into that mental health component. So, all of my coaches are actually currently getting certified. If not, the 2 of them might already be certified at this point as mental health coaches. And so we really take great pride in that because we really dive into that as part of the training as well. So you're really getting a coach that's certified in 3 master areas there to help you excel. We're not asking you to, like I said, work out 45 minutes to an hour. It's 15 to 25 minutes, 5 days a week. And then you get 2 rest days. And so that's our main program, is the one-on-one coaching side of things. And then we do offer something called a legacy group, which is like an online gym membership. Now that is private right now, but I'll spoil alert, I don't know when this airs, but we are bringing that to public. So there will be an option for publics to be or individuals to join that, and that won't be capped. Is reason why it's basically designed to give you a taste of what one-on-one coaching is about, and to find like, hey, is this the tribe I want to be a part of? Like, is this a community I want to tap into? And so we are going to bring that public as well. And then we do have like a couple challenges throughout the year that we make public as well. So depending where you're at, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like I always compare it to agronomy. Like in agriculture, we hire an agronomist to help us with our fields. We hire them for their expertise. We hire them to, yes, we know our soil. We could probably have done the research and figured out what kind of seed or chemical to spray on our crops, to kill the weeds and stuff like that. We could have. But at the end of the day, we hire agronomists for their expertise because they take us from the problems to the solutions. And that's what we are. You hire a fitness coach, a transformational coach, because it's not that you can't go do the research. It's not that you can't, figure out a workout for yourself, but you hire a coach to be your ninja in the back pocket, to instead of struggling and trying to figure it out, we're going to take you straight to those solutions. We're going to guide you through that process and help you be super successful quicker. And that's really the point about a fitness journey, and why so many people have that yo-yo or bouncing back and forth, is because they try to figure it out on their own. They're like, hey, I know nutrition's at 80% of a fitness program. And they try to dive into that. And then next thing you know, months later, they're still diving into that research trying to figure it out, when they could have hired someone like us to take them straight to those solutions. And so we're really tailoring towards the agriculture industry because all of us are ag. All three of my coaches are in agriculture. Like Tracy lives in Illinois on a farm. Jamie Pearson lives on a farm in Texas. Anna Marie lives on a farm in Ohio. Even my operations manager grew up on a dairy farm in Texas. Like, this is the industry that we understand, and we know that we can help guide people to those solutions to becoming the best version of themselves. And then with that, community is a huge thing. Just like, May of 2020, it really opened my eyes how our community loves to rally together and to be supportive of each other. And so there, in my app, I have like a community space where you can talk to people from Canada, from across the United States. I've had people apply from Australia and UK. I haven't accepted them yet. We don't have anybody in the tribe quite yet there until I get my international certifications. But it's really cool where this is just really spreading to everyone and giving us all a space to not only work on ourselves, but to be tapped into that community aspect where, we can cheer each other on, we can motivate each other. Like, a fitness journey is a journey about yourself, but it doesn't have to be a lonesome journey. You don't have to go through it alone. And so one of the things I really didn't expected, Tracy, is like when I launched my business, I had a couple apply.
Hmm.
Like, I actually took on a couple, and it was super fun. I loved it because, a lot of times when you start a fitness journey, it's like, "Oh, I can't eat this food. I can't eat this food. I can't do this. I can't do this." And I hated that. For example, if someone handed me a fitness meal plan and was like, "You're eating chicken and rice for the next 6 weeks," I'd be like, first off, my husband's gonna hate me. And secondly, we have a freezer full of beef. Like, what's going on here? And so that's the thing, is I don't hand people individual meal plans. It's more the education and the science behind what we're creating. So like, for example, if you make spaghetti, everybody makes spaghetti differently. Like, we all have our secret little tips that we throw into our spaghetti recipe. But at the end of the day, it's noodles, sauce, and meat, right? The three components. And so with that, like, we would educate, like, hey, a simple tweak here could be like the type of noodles you used. Like, maybe we could use like zucchini noodles or whole wheat noodles, or you can swap it out with a bean based noodle. Like, there's tons of bean based noodles on the market, but that simple swap could have a totally different, profound nutrition value on how you make your spaghetti. And so we really educate the science in that. And so we don't go into like customized meal plans like that. We more approach it like, hey, I have a lasagna recipe that I give to all my clients, for example, and they can make it. And my couples love it because it's like, the guy, obviously has to eat more. So he could add some more sides to his lasagna, like have a salad or have cottage cheese or whatever he wants as a side. But it's going to work for the female as well, because the macro profile in that or lasagna recipe. So it ends up where you're cooking one meal for everyone instead of separate meals. And it's a more sustainable approach. Like, when we have hired help, I'm cooking the same food that I'm eating for all of us. Like, I'm not going to cook different things for the guys in the field and then me and the boys are eating something different. No, we're all eating the same thing and they love it. Like, my hired help are like, what are we gonna eat? Like, tell us like everything. They always say, as long as it tastes good, we don't care how healthy it is. And they're like, we'll be sitting there eating dinner in the field and they'll be like, okay, how's this healthy? Explain this to me. Like, I want to understand this.
That's awesome. That sounds like an excellent approach because that's exactly it. You fix one you're working with one person, they're like, "Well, no, I gotta make meals for the rest of the family," and then they have that temptation where it's just one healthy meal for everybody. And then it's more of a lifestyle versus like a little
Like,
diet, right? You're changing, you're improving the way you eat for yourself and everybody, right?
absolutely, and that's the thing is, like, a fitness journey is a tripling effect, we don't realize it, like, especially us mothers, like, by you working out, by you diving into your fitness journey, first off, you're gonna start talking to yourself differently, but guess what? Your kids are gonna notice that. Like, I can't tell you how many times my kids join me in my workouts, or, like, they'll go over to their friend's house, like, my oldest the other day went over to his our aunt and uncle's house, and she made him a meal and he was like, "Well, how much protein does this have in here? Like, I need to have more protein." And we call her Mimi. And so it's just like they're little sounding boards. But you're by working on yourself, you're impacting future generations. And so that's where that really big difference is like a lot of people think, oh, it's selfish to work on myself. Or like, I don't like by working on myself, I'm taking away from my family. You're actually adding value to your family. You're teaching them what it is to take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. Like you're teaching them so much by diving into a fitness journey than you realize. And it's cool too because like yes, my boys are going to be that sixth generation, hands down. We already know it, like they love every aspect. They're the ones out in the field. Like I don't even get tractor time anymore. I've been replaced by my 10-year-old. But it's cool where now they're sounding boards for what I'm doing as well. Like they'll talk to their friends, like their friends will come over and I end up sharing the recipes with their moms because the kids are like, this is awesome. Like it's super high protein. I like it. Or they're like, "Can you make me those breakfast burritos that you make that are high protein?" Like, it's really cute where they start to request food when they come over because they know how I cook. And so, again, it's just like I'm not impacting just my kids, like, their buddies are seeing it as well.
I love that you said that. I gotta go here, Amanda, because it's so powerful what you just said. Yes, you're working on your fitness journey, but I love the fact about the food for the family and improving. But having your kids see you go on this journey. I'm big into psychology, right? Business psychology, mindset. They say 97% of our subconscious beliefs are formed by the time we're 7. So look at that. You have boys. By the time they were 7 years old, 97% of the way they think has already been formed by starting to watch you. And then as you grow up, you reinforce that, or as they grow up, right? So if mom is working out, that's not just about mom. They're seeing a mom that works out, and working out becomes part of what you do as a person, right? That's so
Yeah.
powerful.
It
So
is.
powerful.
It's super powerful, and it's like I did a reel the other day, about it. Like, I was working out with my youngest, we were doing burpees, and it was so cute because, like, he's seen me record burpees, he's seen me do them, and I talk about form, and I talk about the keys and stuff, and he's over there doing them perfectly with me along this video, and the other day, my oldest had to do push-ups at basketball practice, he was at basketball practice, and I sat on the sideline and I'm watching all these kids do push-ups, and my kid's the only one doing push-ups correctly. Like going down, like some of the kids had their arms clear out here, bobbing their head. And I'm like, oh my God, how much do I want to teach all these kids how to do a proper push-up so bad? But it was just again, they're little sounding boards. They pay attention to that. Like they pay attention to what you're doing or how you're talking, and that's a lot of times we forget about that. Like if you're talking negative about yourself, guess what? They're going to grow up and talk negative about themselves. But if you're talking positive, like I always talk about how strong I am. I don't talk about being skinny. I don't talk about, I do talk about it having energy. I talk about that a lot. But the main thing I talk about is like muscle and strength and being able to be an asset for daddy. Like my husband will call me over to the main shop and be like, hey, I need your muscles. Like that's a running joke we have. And so, they hear that and in return, they're going to start talking that way as well. They talk about, muscle. They like my oldest always comes up to me and goes, "Do I have a six pack yet?" And I'm like, "Not yet, buddy," but it's there.
Oh, so cool. I love your vibe. I love what you do. That's just so cool and what an impact on everybody around you and then your kids for the rest of their life. Okay. I want to ask you, I love speaking to other business owners. I want to ask you a little bit about your business journey. When you launched your business, what is one of the most challenging things on your business journey? 3 years. What would you say has challenged you the most that maybe you didn't even expect?
Well, first and foremost, on business journey, I highly recommend individuals doing research. I actually joined an apprenticeship, which she ended up later being my mentor. I highly recommend having a mentor, having someone in a powerful force that can get you where you want to go, to help you line up your goals and where you want to project your business. But with that being said, I mean, I ended up having to sue her. Just like I've had the most crazy business
So
story. Like,
you
I don't
ended
know if
up
we
what?
wanna talk. She was stealing money from the business. So I ended up, I hired her as a mentor, which I've never talked about this as a business side of things because nobody asked me. But I hired her. We did a bunch of successful, like my one-on-one coaching was going great. Well, then she pitched to me. She's like, "Hey, you should do digital products, and then I'll be a partner with you on the profit side of things." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." Because again, she's my mentor. And I ended up hiring the same operations manager and accountant as her. And so in 2022, she was complaining about another gal that she works with. And so it kind of got me looking into my business. And I found out first and foremost, my operations manager was cutting her checks before the expenses were taken out. And then in addition, she was taking money out of the business. And shame on me. I didn't notice it. I'll be the first to tell you, yes, I didn't catch it. And so I ended up firing my operations manager, my mentor, my business partner, and my accountant in the same month. Um, and it was like a tornado. It was like, okay, how do I pivot from this? So luckily I found an accountant really fast. And then I hired another gal for my operations manager. um, and tried to pivot my business, and keep it going. And it was like a tornado. I'll be 100% honest. But what I do really well with my business is I don't take away from the business. Like I pay myself as an employee, for example, and then I really invest everything back into it minus my pay as an employee. And it's not something crazy or anything like that. One of the biggest investments that I've done recently is I actually paid for mentors. I hired another mentor to help me with my business, but I'm also doing another business class. So just like my certifications, I'm always learning. I'm always putting new practices or finding new ways to improve my business or our business model. And I think that a lot of times when we start a business, we forget, like we get stuck in this rut and we start it and it's going great. And then when something happens, it's like, oh, how do we pivot from this or how do we move forward? And that's where you should always be continually investing in the business, continually pouring back into that business. They always say businesses fail in the first 5 years, and I get it. I totally see why, because there's a lot of stuff moving and changing every single year, every
I
single
love
year.
it. I love it. Sorry, I don't love that you had that experience.
Oh,
I
that's
love
okay.
that you were vulnerable to share that because, I've been in business, self-employed. I launched this media company 16 years ago in April. So I know my business and the front stuff is the easy stuff. You look at it from the outside, just like looking at you. You're like, oh, she's so successful for me. Everything's so easy. But people don't realize the business part is usually like the front. What we do as a service tends to be the easiest part. And I'm going to use this, it's a little bit of slang, but the operating of business, the trusting people, the hiring people, the having to fire people, that's the gong show of being a business owner that most people never talk about. And if we
They
don't,
don't, and they
right?
need to. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I even thought about I've had multiple people reach out to me asking me business advice. I'll be 100% honest. Because again, they see this success front, which we are. We're very successful. In 3 years, I've never thought I would have the type of business I have, hands down. But at the same time, it's like there's a lot that happened behind the scenes that nobody knows about. And a lot of storms. Like I had to sue my ex-business partner, like full on sue her and take her to court. Obviously I won because I didn't do anything wrong, but at the same time, like going through that and keeping the business going, like training clients, that's where I shine. Like running the whole business side of things, there's a lot of stuff that I'm still learning, still improving, still incorporating. I'll always be a student of that system because it's ever changing. Like there's always things that we can improve. There's always things that we can tweak and adjust in the business side of things. But the actual client side of things, I love it. That's ultimately if I can only do that, great. But like I have to be in charge of the business side of things as well, and be able. Luckily, I found an amazing COO that is she's fantastic. Like she is on top of tech, everything. She filled that role and has excelled and has helped us where now on the business side of things, I don't have to be so invested that I get to be able to do where I shine and where I want to be. And so as a business owner, my biggest advice to anybody starting it is just prepare yourself. Like it's not going to be easy. You're going to put in a lot of time and energy, and it's going to soak up a lot of time and energy, especially if it's something that you're extremely passionate about. And it's not going to be easy, and you got to find that balance between work life and a business life. Like I'll be 100% honest, like my first year in my business, I didn't have a balance, and it definitely did play a toll. Luckily my husband's a saint and a patient, and he had to pull me aside and be like, okay, the route you're going, this isn't working, we need to adjust something here. And he was very upfront and honest, and I saw it too. Like I'll be the first to admit, like that first year I was so into the business that there was a lot of things I was missing out that was happening with our family. And now I found a way to integrate the two, where I have the opportunity to still see my business excel, but be that hands-on mom, and be a part of the farming operation and be really helpful for what our family has as well. And so it's not easy. And a lot of the business, like people always ask me, like, who do you use, and I don't give that out often because of the fact that you have to go out and do your own research. Like you have to go out and figure it out yourself. Like I mean, I've spent hundred thousands and thousands of dollars on business courses, and hour wise I wouldn't even know how to put it on paper, to like not only with like my certifications personally. Like right now I'm actually in March, I'll make this public, I'm going to have 5 new certifications to my belt, that are going to be internationally. So they're going to be are notified by the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation. And so I'll be certified as a life coach, mental health, neurologistics programming master. And then I have a specialty degree into that on mental health as well. It's a psychology. And so those will be internationally recognized. But again, I'm always investing back into the business. I'm always investing back into what I got going on, and being a student to learn to keep going. It's not easy. It's not. Like, I mean, I wish business owners would talk about that. Like, the I don't know if I can say this, but I'm gonna say it, like, the shitstorm that happens behind the scenes.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Amanda, I honestly think you are my USA soul sister. I love your vibe and a lot of the stuff we share a similar train of thought. So I really actually appreciate that. Often I'll ask that question to people I speak to about their business journey. And however we answer, it's great. No judgment. And people are called to answer it different ways at different times for their journey. But I love that you went there and shared a lot of that, because the thing is, if we don't see people talking about that, in addition to all the stress of everything we're going through, they'll look to Amanda and go, wow, oh my gosh, her business journey was so easy. Why do I have this happening? I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm not good at this. It is hard. So maybe I should just quit, right? People don't quite realize, and I did a quick video about this for some self improvement I do. People don't realize that chasing your dream is hard, 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 challenge, challenge, devastating. Oh, a win. And then hard, 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 win, right? That's what I
yeah,
find. And we think it's supposed to be great. And then when it's not, then we want to quit because we don't have the proper expectations, right?
Yeah. Well, and you have to have passion behind it too.
Yeah.
Like if it fuels your purpose and your passion, like you can weather any storm. You can really go through anything. And that's the thing with my business is it does. It fuels my purpose in life. Like I am exactly where I need to be. God put me exactly where I need to be in this pivotal moment. And then my whole passion, like I freaking love what I get to do. Seriously, every day I get to talk to people and help people become the best version of themselves. Like, how freaking cool is that? Like, it is, I truly love it when clients come in and you see this whole shift, not even like just the physical transformation, but the mental transformation. Like, that just lights my soul on fire. And then when they start to understand nutrition, and I've had clients out of that original 25. I have shared this before, but out of that original 25 group that signed with me when I opened my doors, 18 of them are still with me to this day. 18. And it's not because they need my help. They're in that online gym membership, that legacy program that we have, but they love everything about it. Like they love the community. They love being able to connect with like minded mind. Like they love being a part of what we are. And that in itself just speaks volumes. It's like, once people get into the correct system and strategies, they flourish, they bloom, they grow, and so it's really cool in that aspect as well. But business wise, like there's so much happening. I can't even tell you. Like, I mean, we're adjusting all the time. Like my husband's like, okay, what's the problem today? I'm like, I just had to fire my graphic designer. Now we're on to the next. And that's one of the things they don't really think about is like there's a lot of moving parts to businesses. And so like one of the things I had an ideal for is to launch a course teaching you how to become a fitness coach. I always had that. I had that vision recently because we got named by National Academy of Sports Medicine, which is one of the top ranking schools for personal training, nutrition coaching. Like they're the highest. We actually just got listed as a preferred fitness company by them, which was a super cool honor and humbled, and I love it. And so I was like, okay, I could literally put this course together and teach people how to run a business and how to, again, just like I do with fitness coaching, you hire me, I'm going to give you all the tools and strategies and take you straight to those solutions because I went through that storm. I know how to go through that. And so that was one of the ideals I had it, but that's like a 10-year goal. I'm going to tell you right now. It's not going to happen anytime soon.
Right. Fantastic. So you throughout what you just shared with your business journey, I think you've already answered my next two questions just naturally. The best thing about starting your business and the thing that surprised you most. So I'll ask you those two. If you have anything you want to add on the best thing or what surprised you the most, I think you already named a few. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
think you did. The best thing is like in my business is the growth that I had with myself.
Mm.
I cannot tell you how much growth I've had. That's actually my word of the year this year is growth. Like I said, I just recently invested into a mentorship program, and I hired these two individuals to be my mentor. And one of the things I shared with them is I really want to grow as an individual. And to be able to not only be present as a mother or wife, but also for my business and clients as well. And so I mean, that was my word is the growth that I had for myself. One of the things that I love and I'm truly grateful for. Um, I would say the biggest thing that surprised me the most, like, are we talking business or fitness training? Like,
Take it where you want to.
where business wise, I would say what surprised me the most is how hard it was.
Mm.
I thought it was gonna be an easy process, and I was very, very flipped around when I realized how much work it really takes to launch a business correctly and to make it profitable. That definitely surprised me both, and then what also surprised me the most with the fitness journey is, you know, like how much people not rely on you, that's not the word I want to use there. But how much you impact you can make with the individual's life. When I originally started my fitness or launched my fitness business, I was like, it's a workout program. There's so many fitness programs out there on social media. Like, how am I going to be different? And again, we really focus on the science and why, and really educate on that. And I really took a stance on that. And I can't tell you how many people come into our farm fit training and are like, this is like nothing out there on the internet. Like, I've never been in a program like yours. Like, I've done everything under the moon. I've done, Beachbody. I've done all those programs out there that you can buy in mass numbers, and they've never been a part of something that I created. And so that would be hands down also one of the greatest things I would have to say as well, is just hearing that feedback from individuals, especially in agriculture and in our space, saying that they're so appreciative of what they were able to be a part of, and find that program and find that space for themselves. So, I mean, between those two things, I mean, definitely business and fitness and coach, and my own personal growth as
Say,
well.
limiting beliefs. When you first started, was there a story, some thoughts, some limiting beliefs that went through your head? And if so, if you could go back and speak into Amanda's ear when she was saying this repeated negative story, what would you tell her?
You know what's super crazy that you just asked me that, Tracy, is I just did an exercise with my mentors about this.
Mm,
Like, we talked about the Christmas past, going with that ghost of the Christmas past. And honestly, one of the things I told my mentors, I've never been fearless. Like, if there's ever been a situation, I always hit it head on. Even if I didn't know how the outcome was going to be good or negative, I've always taken on that role of jumping in with both feet and seeing how it plans out. And my mentor, like, kept challenging me. She kept asking me questions. She's like, "Okay, there's never been a point where you didn't do something because you were scared." I'm like, "No, there's never been a point in my life." And she drilled me from every angle, and she's like, "Do you realize that is one of the hardest qualities to teach to somebody, or to like educate or tell them about, or like talk about with somebody, because there's so many situations where there's been that one moment, if I would have done this, this would have gone this way, or we think about those moments, and I really don't think about them because I think it has everything to do with what I went through starting my business, the house fire, leading up to launching my business, leading up to all of that. Like, I went through that whole year with so many unknowns that I got so used to it, where launching my business, it was like, nope, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm jumping in with both feet. And so I don't know. I wouldn't say I would ever go back. I mean, I think everything I've learned in my business happened for a reason, and it needed to happen to redirect me into the right course, or it needed to be a lesson. And so truly, I mean, if the Christmas ghost of past came back to me, I wouldn't go back, because I think I've learned so much from those experiences and situations, that's why I'm here where I'm at today. That's where my business is where it's at today. That's where my relationships with individuals are at for the at this moment, is because it all needed to happen that way.
yeah. Oh, I love it. I love that you said that. I've gone to that point. I've been pretty fearless and go, go, go too. But then there was a point of time I'm like, I should have. And then I started going down there. I'm like, well, no. If that had happened different, this wouldn't have happened. And that led to that. And that happened. And I'm in such a place of like those divine moments, and things just happen to you exactly how they're supposed to happen to set you up for your life path. And that's kind of the beliefs that I've taken on now too.
Yeah, I didn't realize it either until my mentor pointed out to me, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I wouldn't go back. Like, everything happened as it's supposed to happen. And then a lot of times in business, especially, or even in a fitness journey, we think about, oh, if I didn't do that diet, or in business, if I would have done that deal or that one situation, you can't change it. So why go back? Why think about it? Like, it happened the way it was supposed to happen. Take it as a learning experience or take it as a win, but keep looking forward, keep focusing, keep redefining your craft, or in a fitness journey. Let's say you went off the bandwagon and all of a sudden you're struggling with your nutrition, and you ate a bag full of Oreos. Trust me, a box of hot tamales are like my trigger food. I open a box of hot tamales and those suckers are gone. But at the end of the day, I don't beat myself up. I'm not going to go work out extra long because I ate that box of hot tamales. I'm not going to punish myself because I did. And the same with business. You shouldn't look back and be like, oh, if that deal would have happened, my business would be such and such a place. That's not doing anything. That's affecting your mental health, which we talked about. That's actually hindering your growth in your process.
I love it, and I could see how valuable for you to have that fearless focus for yourself because you need that for your clients too. No, okay, you messed up. You ate a box of Oreos. Let's carry on. Don't dwell on it, right?
Well, like, let's just dive back in.
Yeah,
Like, you can't change it. You ate it.
yeah,
It's done.
yeah.
You entered, but the fact that you point out that win in this situation, for example, they entered it in so that we actually, because we can see their nutrition profile, you were honest with yourself. That's a huge moment. You're not hiding that. You're like, "Nope, I ate that. I own up to that. Moving on." And so it's again, you can redirect it in a positive way too. You can be like, "Hey, you were honest. You didn't try to hide it. You were totally transparent with our coaches, which is what we want. Now let's just, obviously that ate all your carbs and it was simple carbohydrates and that didn't do anything for your nutrition, but there's nothing we can change about that. Let's focus on new habits. So what made you feel like you had to eat that in that moment? Like, let's talk about that. Let's address more of that kind of situation, and then repivot from that. And so again, a lot of times we don't think about like, hey, there's a redirection to every direction. Like, there's always something we can improve and work on.
Ooh, I love it. We could talk for hours. I'm going to work to wrap up the episode with a quick round of lightning questions, we'll call it. And
Okay.
the first one, I want to ask you, what are you really fired up about right now? And it could be good fired up or really mad fired up. And it could be personally, professionally. Take that where you want to take it.
You got me thinking. I think what I'm really fired up, honestly, is about my team. We have a rock solid team. We have so many amazing things happening this year. And this is like our year. 2024 is, I just came out of 2023, where we were rebuilding, trying to figure out getting those key players in place, especially after that, firing my ex partner and I mean, I shared all that in 2022. And so, like, this is the year where we have such a freaking killer staff. We're ready. We have a lot of exciting things coming out. And just, I mean, I'm fired up about this year. Like, this year is going to be massive. We're going to be able to take on more clients. I'm super excited in that aspect. Personally, I'm really excited about this because I finally have figured out how to integrate my business and my family together. It's taken me 3 years. But now, like, my marriage is absolutely healthy, amazing. My husband even sees it. Like, I am able to be that hands-on mom that I always want to be and still be able to run a very successful business. And so I finding that integration of that and then what we have for this year, I think those are the two biggest things I'm super excited about.
Love it. Okay. A book or video that has changed your life.
Ooh. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't have time to read books. Between my certifications, I'm like booked out by the end of the day.
And you're
But
a
I
mom.
but I do listen, yes, and a mom and a husband and running for parts the other day or during harvest I had to run like spur of the moment 3 hours one way to get a part. So I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
I do audiobooks. I love audiobooks. And the one book that really hit home for me was Resentless,
Mm,
by Tim Grover.
yes, I have that one.
If you've never read that book, hands down read it. He obviously uses a lot of basketball analogies in it, which I mean that's his industry, that's who he is. But that book like just talked to my soul.
Mm,
And it just like really hit home for me. That was the one that I was like, yep, like I'm not the only one. I get it. Because like in the book he talks about closer cleaners and all that. So if anybody's listening to this, that's the book I'm going to recommend is by Tim Grover. Hands down, it's like that was the one that was like, I get this now. Like I'm not the only individual that goes balls to the wall on something and really dives in hard and really profounds and shows up and keeps improving, keeps practices, like keeps always trying to go the next level, like especially with my certifications. Like I mean, I'm certified, I could stop right now and just be like any other business, but now I'm looking to get 5 new certifications from the ICF. Do I need them? No, I can still go international without them, but I'm getting it because it just puts me up that much higher. It just shows that, hey, I know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm doing. Like of the elite, that personality. And so like that book really hit home just in that aspect because I'm always that driving personality to go to that next level.
I have that one on audio, and this is a nice reminder. I think I'm going to revisit it because that vibe I want to bring into 2024 a little bit more. So thank you for that.
You should. I highly
Yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah, I'm going to. It was a while ago already. I was driving. I remember when I downloaded it, I'm like, this is good. Yeah. Okay. I'm excited. I'm a book nerd, if you can't tell. So that's why I ask everybody. It's not for the audience, it's for me. I just want to know what people read.
No, I love it. No, that book, and then my mentor actually came out with a book, Be Seen.
You
Um,
see?
yeah, it's by her name is Jen. She just came out with a book, and I actually did buy the book because I want to read about it. It's really good. It's about mental development and stuff like that. And so that's a book that I'll be reading this year.
Exciting. I'll check that one out too. Best advice you've ever received.
Oh, is my quote. I always quote this. The best advice I ever received, and I actually received it when I was doing insurance sales. I did door to door. So that is the hardest type of sell you will ever do in your life.
Yep.
And I remember my first year doing insurance sales, my manager, my coach for insurance sales told me, he's like, hey, Amanda, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And I remember hearing that and I'm like, ooh, okay. Because I was so nervous to walk up to random doors in the country. And he's like, there's two people in this world. There's people that make excuses and people that finds a way. And then he came back with that quote. And I was just like, all right, I'm over the soapbox. Let's go.
Oh, good. That's a good one. Okay, Amanda, this has been so lovely. I have loved having you on to share your story and your wisdom. I love everything about your vibe and most importantly, the work that you're doing. I want to ask you one last quick thing, and then I'm going to get you to wrap up with a call to action if people want to get in touch, how they can follow you. Here's one thing, and I'm curious if you hear this from farmers. I'm married to a farmer. And this is something that he said before his fitness health journey. Tracy, I'm a farmer. I do physical work every day. I eat good enough. Why do I need to exercise and focus on my food? I'm putting you on the spot.
Love that question. I love that question. Well, first and foremost, what we think and what is actually happening is two different things. On a farm, yes, you're moving, you're walking around, but are you intentionally taking that time for yourself? Like pushing yourself to your limit? Are you taking 15 to 25 minutes and like just dripping sweat, to the point where you feel exhausted and then all of a sudden you get this high from your endorphin rush. And then, with nutrition, a lot of times like people think they eat enough protein or they're eating enough good quality foods, but once you start to track it, it's like, wow, I do eat like crap. Like I didn't realize how much carbs I eat or how much high fatty foods I eat or how little protein I'm getting. And so, one of the things that I love myth busting is when somebody joins a program and they start to track it and they start to actually start to pay attention what's going in their mouth or start to be intentional with their movements. Like I can't tell you that first week, my men are humbled. They're just like, I'm so sore. Like I didn't realize how little I was eating for protein. Like, this has been super eye-opening. Even water, we talk about water in my program. Something that a lot is overlooked. We educate on drinking a gallon of water a day. Yes, that's a lot. I get it. I'm 5'1" and $125, and I drink a gallon of water a day. But even a slight 2% dehydration can affect your mood, can affect your memory, can affect like how you react, like your reaction time when you're on the farm. Like if someone's falling, or you guys are ranchers, you guys have cattle, like a cattle all of a sudden kicks, you got to have that quick speed, that quick agility to move. And so even that dehydration can affect all of that. And so when farmers say that and they join the program, they actually start to dive into it. It's just that mental switch that you see going on with them. I love it. And then they end up talking about it. Like I can't tell you how many farmers I've had join the program, and then their hired help ends up joining. Or I've had women join the program and then the husband joins, or vice versa. Men join the program and then their wives join. I've even had that situation. And so it's just like, once you see somebody diving in and then you see that whole shift in their body, their mood, how they present themselves, that confidence. Confidence is something that's actually viewed as cockiness, and it's not. When you're confident in yourself, you believe in your abilities and what you bring to the table. And that's actually a very beautiful thing, and that needs to be in our agriculture, because first and foremost, we're bridging that gap between consumer and producer. A lot of people are going online and talking about that. But if you're not confident and you don't believe in your abilities, like, you can't inspire someone, you can't vocalize that correctly. And so when someone says that to me, I'm like, give me 2 weeks and we'll see how that goes. And always by the end of the 2 weeks, they're just like, okay, I'm here. Like, you humbled me. Like, I understand this now. I get it. Like, I thought I moved around on the farm a lot, and I've never been through that 25 minutes. Like, I was cussing you out and you were challenged. Like, it was by far the hardest thing I've ever done.
Nice. Good. I'm glad I asked you that. So, to wrap up, if somebody wants to learn more about you, connect with you, follow you, and find out about your programs, how can they do so?
Well, I'm on every social media platform. And by the way, I do not hire my social media out. Like, you're talking directly to me. So like if you send me a message on social, you're talking to me. So I'm on every social media platform except chat. Don't message me on TikTok. I'm gonna tell you that I'm barely on that sucker. But if you message me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, or LinkedIn, for example, you'll be talking directly to me, and it's Farm Fit Mama. So it's MOMMA, not MAMA. And then we also have a website. So everybody can jump on the website. It's www.farmfitmama.com. And we have tons of information. We also have free guides on there that people can instantly download. There's like 9 tips for fat loss, or my blueprint, for example, that gives you more of the insights and outs of what we offer. And there's like crock pot recipes in there. Actually have recipes in both those guides. So if you're interested in that way and you want to know more information about us, that would be probably the best place to start, is our website.
I love it. Amanda, I have so thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, personally, professionally. Thank you so much for your time. Honestly, we could probably talk for hours. So
I
thank you for joining us.
know.
It's been so much fun. Thank you, Amanda. Oh,
I appreciate it. Thank you for asking me to come on.
my absolute honor. You guys in the audience, if you love this as much as I did, like it, shared, and get it out there. I truly believe in the work that Amanda's doing to help create stronger farmers mentally and physically, right? That's what it's all about. Thank
Heck
you
yeah.
guys. Thank you. See you next week. Bye bye.